It's a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning. It's quite a very historic moment talking about patriotism and the need to build the nation in a time when there's been stereotyping, profiling, and also labeling of certain ethnic groups in the country. In the wake of this, it has also led to the loss of lives. Let's get your thoughts on this quest to ensure a saner Nigeria where we look beyond ethnicity and religion.
Thank you very much. I think one of the first things we have to understand, okay, is we need to ask ourselves, what is a Nigerian? Why are we Nigerians? What does this country, this nation represent? That's the first question. And I think the challenge we're facing as a nation is there's some fundamental questions we've not answered. And until we answer those questions, we are going to be on a trajectory where we're looking for our meaning, we're looking for a direction, and we're not really going to find the goal and purpose of Nigeria. Now, listen, I need you to understand this. We're referring to a country that is the biggest and the largest black nation on planet Earth. Out of every 4 black people on the face of this planet, 1 is a Nigerian. Now, that cannot be a coincidence. That's a design. And the question you and I should ask ourselves is this: is Nigeria fulfilling its purpose as the biggest and the largest black nation on planet Earth? You look at China, for example. China is representing the Asian continent. You look at America. America is representing the West. And now you look at Africa. Nigeria is supposed to represent a black race. And the question is this: are we fulfilling our purpose as a nation with all the resources at our disposal? Now, let me tell you something. I'm speaking to you from the UK. Do you know that there are some hospitals, because my wife is a health practitioner. Do you know that there are some hospitals in the UK where from the CEO to the cleaner, they're all Nigerians? The nurses, the doctors, the administrators, all Nigerians.
And that is why we continue to decry the Jaqua syndrome in the country, especially with health professionals in Nigeria.
Well, it's so that is the question. The question is, why are we doing so well outside Nigeria? Why are Nigerians doing so well? Our kids are the brightest in the classrooms.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of the roads that you drive on here in the UK, a lot of the shareholders of those companies are Nigerians. The engineers are Nigerians. And the question you and I should ask ourselves is, why is it that Nigerians are doing so well outside Nigeria, but the moment they come into Nigeria, there's chaos? Now, this is the question. And we must answer this question, my dear brother.
Yeah.
Because if we don't answer this question, we are not representing the purpose why, if I may use the word God, why God created us. China is fulfilling her purpose when it comes to commerce. America is fulfilling her purpose when it comes to tech and leadership. What is Nigeria doing? The giant of Africa, the nation that every other African country looks up to. Why have we not fulfilled our purpose? Meanwhile, when you go to Gabon, Nigerians are the ones in charge of the commerce there. You go to Ghana, Nigerians are the ones in charge. You go to South Africa, they have issues with us because we're taking over. You go to every part of the world and you will find Nigerians excelling. But why is the nation dysfunctional?
Now, Barrister
These are the
Ata,
questions we must ask ourselves.
Barrister
And
Ata,
this is where patriotism comes in.
is this an issue of bad leadership in the country that has been emphasized time and again, or are we taking a look at the instability of the country with regards to some of this politics being played along religious and ethnic lines? Because when you ask a typical Nigerian, we were just having a conversation with the president or leader of the Talakawa's parliament, Max Iskola, who had cited that Nigeria will never be one. It was never one. It is an unholy forced marriage between the southern and northern protectorates about 111 years ago, which Nigerians in present-day Nigeria continue to suffer from. What are your thoughts on this? And do you share the same line of thought with Max Iskola, who says that Nigeria would never be one?
My dear brother, or do I call you my dear patriot? This is beyond unity. This is beyond tribalism. This is beyond ethnic politics. We need to go back and ask ourselves. And these are the questions we've not asked ourselves. This is not a leadership problem. Have we as Nigerians taken ownership of Nigeria? Because if we don't take ownership, if we don't identify ourselves as Nigerians, if you are Igbo, I am Ibibio, you're Yoruba, and you're Hausa, and we have these ethnic cleavages within our nation, but we don't identify ourselves as one Nigeria. We don't take ownership, and that's the word. We don't take ownership, shared sacrifice, then we are still going to go round in circles. Now, one of the fundamental challenges we have as a nation is this, you see, unlike Ghana, all right, in the days of Nkrumah, all right, Nkrumah had to sit back and ask himself, okay, what is Ghana? All right, are we just going to be called the Gold Coast? Okay?
Yeah.
And Nkrumah said, no, we can't be called the Gold Coast. That is what the white man called us. Okay? We are going to be called Ghana. And he went back into history, investigated and researched, and found out that thousands of years ago, there was a great empire called Ghana, and he decided to identify his people with that nation, the nation of Ghana. Nkrumah also asked himself this question: I want my people to be patriots. I want my people to take ownership of this Ghana. I want my people to have a symbol. And that's how the Black Star became the symbol and the brand of Ghana. And that's why Ghanaians are so different from us. Okay? You will never, and I tell you this, you will never find Ghanaians criticizing their leadership the way we do. Now, they can criticize their leadership in private, they can criticize their leadership when they're together, or they can tell me as a Nigerian, well, I'm not so happy with my president. But you will never see Ghanaians going on social media and pulling down their nation the way we do. Why? Because Ghanaians are patriotic. The foundation of patriotism was built in the substructure of that nation. And that's why Ghanaian schools have been better than our schools. If you don't have money to send your child to South Africa or to United Kingdom or to Saudi Arabia, where do you send your child to? To Ghana. Well, so how can Ghana be doing better than us?
Barrister Ata, you have highlighted the lack of patriotism embedded in the minds of Nigerians, while also praising countries like Ghana for their immense patriotism to their nation.
Yes.
A country that is considered a black star on the African continent. However, you have not properly told us what this root cause of lack of patriotism is in the hearts of Nigerians. Where did this start from? Where did we get it wrong in the beginning?
This is where we got it wrong. You see, the way we started as a nation, the way we started as a country was so different from other nations. Nigeria started as an enterprise in the year 1899, thereabout, when the Royal Niger Company had to sell, literally had to sell Nigeria to the crown, the British crown, for 670 million pounds. I can't remember that figure now. Now, when we started as a nation, okay, and Flora Shaw gave us that name, Nigeria, okay, and that name was adopted in 1900. Now, there is a mistake. People think the name Nigeria came in 1914. No, the name Nigeria came in 1900, because remember, there was one Nigeria. Before that, Nigeria was separated into the Northern Protectorate of Nigeria and the Southern Protectorate of Nigeria. Okay. Now, when the British saw the potential in Nigeria, when they saw the vast resources in Nigeria, okay, and when they had to move the crops, the cash crops from the north to the south, because there was a point when they were crossing to the south where they obviously had to pay taxes. They say, you know what? We're spending too much money here. We need to unite this nation and have one Nigeria. But what had happened was they had now discovered that this set of human beings, this set of Africans, were very intelligent, risk takers, adventurous. By that time, Nigerians were in Cambridge. Some Nigerians were in Oxford. Some Nigerians were already in Britain studying as lawyers and doctors. My grandfather was a medical doctor in those days. Now, so the British now began the divide and rule, when Nigeria was now divided into fiefdoms, into enclaves, where you had Western Nigeria, you had Eastern Nigeria, and you had Northern Nigeria. And if you study the history of Nigeria, you'll discover that we've never really had a national figure. We've never really had what you call a champion of Nigeria, a voice that was able to rally the entire population of Nigeria the way Ghana did under Nkrumah.
Yeah.
What we had when Nigeria started was we had Awolowo representing the West, you had Zik representing the East, you had Ahmadu Bello representing the North. And so there's not been a time from the foundation of Nigeria, there's never been a time there was one Nigeria. And I challenge anybody to a debate on this.
Even to this day.
Hello, sir.
Even to this day, Barrister Ata?
Well, we are struggling to look and find that one Nigeria, because the foundation of Nigeria did not start as one Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay? Because our leaders, our founding fathers, we call them founding fathers. Yes, they were founding fathers, but they were founding fathers
of separate regions,
regional blocks.
Interesting.
Not one Nigeria. We have been looking for that one Nigeria since 1960 up to this day. And that is why Nigerians don't have a sense of ownership. And that's why I'm more Ibibio than Nigerian. You're probably more, I don't know where you come from, you're probably more Yoruba or Igbo than Nigerian. The only place you see patriotism is when we're playing football, where suddenly we all come together
as one Nigeria.
There's no Igbo, there's no Hausa, there is no Yoruba, there's no Ibibio, there's no Christian, there's no Muslim. We are one people. And the question I ask myself is, why can't we replicate that spirit? When the Super Eagles, on my days we used to call them the Green Eagles, why can't we replicate that spirit of Nigerianness in our political sphere? And until we have that united and one Nigeria, my brother, we are not going to progress as a nation. And that is why at the center of Nigeria's challenge is patriotism. We have to be patriots. We have to take ownership of this nation. We have to be called Nigerians, not just currently, but we have to take a historical journey into where we are and what we are and where we're going.
A very fine place to leave it there, Barrister Ata. We must thank you so much. Timely and very strong calls for patriotism in the country. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you on Morning Express, and we wish you the very best of the rest of your day. Thank you.
Well, Barrister Ata Ikiddeh, do note that this will form the first part of a two-part conversation, and going into the week would rejoin you for a continuation of this interesting dialogue with the salient points you've raised on how Nigeria can achieve its vision of oneness.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.